Hey Tim, it's been a busy day with the REI
It certainly
board
was.
meeting
I
today.
just love board meetings because I walk out of there with more jobs than I walked in with.
Yeah,
But you ran a great meeting today. I didn't think you'd get through the agenda, so
Thank you.
well done. I was actually had money betting against you, but you did a good job.
You should know better than to bet against me. I'm very good at getting those things done on time. So the Endcap review. What is that review covering?
Well, there's a lot of workings within Endcap, and they were looking for some suggestions about efficiencies and how they could better serve their market. But probably now isn't the right time to be asking that, because everybody who didn't show any interest in the original submission would be showing a lot of interest in it now. We weren't invited. In fact, we were told not to go to the issue of that jurisdictional problem. They said don't refer to that. So taking that on board, we did refer to that and put in a submission saying that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
But
and so why was that to be excluded from the review?
Because they got no intention of fixing it, so don't give us any advice on or any submissions on why it should be fixed. But
that makes no sense.
Yeah, well, because it is such a stupid thing.
Yeah.
They won't fix, despite being uninvited to go there. We took that as an invitation to do it anyway.
Yeah, you're good like that. You ignore instructions very well. Now, REIA, we're going to provide an overview of the REIA submission to Treasury with the EDM that's going to go out tonight. So that includes a whole lot of things, right? Including having a look at the JobKeeper, extending JobKeeper for the real estate space. What else?
That's really good that they've come forward with that. I mean, it's a national issue, obviously.
Of course.
But I'm concerned not only just for real estate business, but for the whole economy. If there are so many people, so many businesses, and so many employees that have been kept in that job by JobKeeper. And the hope was, and it's a utopian sort of a hope, I think, that we're going to get to this point, JobKeeper will stop and the economy will go like that. I mean, that's just not going to happen. So I'm hoping that government will listen to the REIA submission and continue JobKeeper for a period of time, or at a minimum, step it down so that people can transition back into the economy that we all loved and left behind.
Yeah, well, the Prime Minister came out pretty clearly a couple of days ago and said that not all JobKeeper payments will be stopped at the same time. So they came out today and said the arts is going to be continued to be supported in a variety of ways, which is fair enough. Hopefully they'll understand the challenges around the way real estate agents get paid and include it for us. But at the same time, REIA have put a submission that covers all kinds of things like land tax, payroll tax, stamp duty, support for moving businesses into regional areas, and also, interestingly, lowering the eligibility amount for the renovation, that $25,000 support for renovations, because as they rightly said, $275,000 renovations actually puts more back into the economy than one $150,000 renovation, because a lot of things would be spent on more expensive fixtures and fittings, for example.
Yeah. And I suppose when you think about it, if there are two $75,000 ones taking place at two different locations, that will create more employment than just one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I think that's how it would work.
Yeah, that's the argument. And now, as I said, that stamp duty made up part of that submission, but you've got a fun fact.
A fun fact from early indications that I've been tracking, the government, the state government, looks like meeting their budget despite the pandemic. They look like meeting their budget for stamp duty. So it's another indication that the market hasn't gone down the toilet, has it?
No.
I mean, and we look at it each week in the auction clearance rates and the numbers and all of it. Yes, it's calmed down a bit or quietened a bit, but not gone through the floor.
No, I mean, volumes are certainly down on what we'd like to see them, and demand is still high. That's why the clearance rates are still maintaining, and the prices in some areas are really super strong. So
I mean, it was a revised budget, but you know that hasn't been revised as a consequence of the pandemic. It was just revised because of trends, but you know, not bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty good fun fact, that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind that one at all. So tell me, what's the next thing we're going to lobby fair trading for, Tim?
Good question. So I think this whole moratorium on educating rather than getting the penalty book out for the reforms that went through on the 23rd, I think given everything that's happening in our world, and we're just talking about JobKeeper and all of it, just trying to keep our doors open, then I think it makes sense that fair trading put their penalty book in their back pocket and try and help people through this crisis. So I'd like to see the moratorium extended for another 6 months.
Yeah, I think that's a really good plan.
Well, it is. It makes sense. I mean, somebody that's wandering around just trying to get their doors open and they haven't ticked all the boxes for the requirements of the reform, and the government comes along with a penalty book to try and help out. You know, I'm here from the ATO, you know, I'm here to help. Yeah, really?
Yeah. And so one of the things that we resolved at the board meeting today was that we're going to put a side committee together to have a look at what we actually do need to be lobbying fair trading in the government for next, because we are hopefully on the other side of the pandemic almost. And obviously the reforms that we've worked so hard on are done. So we are going to have a look at what we should be talking to them about next. So if anybody out there watching has got some feedback, please just send it through.
Yeah, we'll flatten the curve or flatten somebody.
Now we need to get some new supervision guidelines out because of the reforms. Where are we up to with that?
Yes, great question. And that is also part of that whole moratorium that went on for education, because nobody could have been ready at the 23rd with everything that's going on. So we are advanced in that process of getting the supervision guidelines. We're also talking to a number of people in the industry that have electronic solutions for process. So what we're hoping to be able to do is not dissimilar to what we do with our forms, with REI Forms Live. What we're able to do there, as you know, is make amendments to the forms, and that is automatically done. So with our supervision guidelines, if we can build that into an electronic workflow, that document is then a living document, and we will be able to change that in the same way as practices and procedures change. We'll be able to bring it up to date. And the good thing about that is also, as we get it in the electronic environment, is that the licensee in charge can extract reports. So if fair trading comes in and says, I want to have a look at this, beautiful. We'll pull up a menu of reports that they want and just extract the information straight out. That's where we're working towards.
Yeah, it makes
right now, I don't need anyone wandering around with a penalty book while I'm building this.
While you're building it, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I might check in at the end of next week and see how you're going with that one.
Thanks.
And Pathway to Professionalism, we had a committee meeting this week on that. So those things are slowly but surely moving forward. So that's an exciting project that I'll look forward to updating people on. Yeah. And
I know that the board, how supportive they are of that, and there was now a special board committee being set up under the powers of the Constitution to actually, under the REI's Constitution, to do that. But I just see the becoming a profession and the pathway to professionalism, I don't even consider it to be optional. I think there'll be those that will embrace it and those that will be looking for another career.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, it is just critical.
Absolutely. We also had some great feedback from one of the commercial agents on the board today about some communication, some of the supporting letters and material and stuff that the REI supplied during the pandemic.
Yeah, that was great to hear that story. And the board member, who shall remain nameless, was talking about some negotiations that he was having with a tenant, sorry, on behalf of the landlord he's acting for, and the tenant said, "I'd like a rent reduction. In fact, I'll be more proactive than that. I'll actually stop paying a lot of my rent." And with the documents that the REI had produced and made available, the agent was able to go back and say, well, that's good. Complete all of these documents. That'll give us the information. With the information, we'll be able to make some decisions and assess your claim. And all of a sudden, it all went away.
Yeah,
it all went away.
Yeah, they paid their rent. So I loved hearing that story.
Mm.
We've got a webinar tomorrow with Dr. Andrew Wilson at 10:30 tomorrow. So that's going to be really interesting to get his take on where the market is and what the future looks like. I'm going to be really interested to see.
Yeah, no, Andrew's great. And I think we were promoting Andrew being on here the other day, but it's worth saying again that there's a whole heap of economists. You've only got to listen to any news report and they're talking about this, that and everything else. And they claim to be authorities on everything. Andrew is immersed in the property market. He's immersed in the economy that is the property market. So it's an opportunity, I think, to get an insight into what the future is going to look like from somebody who actually has the skills to do it. So Andrew's a little bit better than the everyone else out there going, I reckon it's going to happen like this.
Yeah.
Andrew actually comes to this with some skills. So very, very valuable tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not about a media headline for him. It's about just sharing the facts. And sharing the trends, and so that'll be great.
And he's, the other thing I like about him, he's good at actually being able to communicate, you know, the facts in the market. I mean, a lot of those economists and that, when they start to talk about the macro and the micro influences of this, I ended up with a cerebral problem. But Andrew's able to communicate, you know, quite well.
In a way that even you can understand. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's his biggest challenge, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else before we?
No, I think we've covered most off. Most people would have turned off by now.
Yeah, don't be like that. All right, awesome. Well, I will see you with Dr. Andrew Wilson tomorrow morning at 10:30.
We will. I look forward to it.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Dan. Bye.
Thank you.